Hey guys, welcome back to another Vanguard video. Today we're taking a look at DZ-BT12 Chasm of Lost Souls, and so we have brand new reveals from this live stream before we get to the Heartluru and Masques cards. So out of nowhere, they dropped an encounter unit for Solitary Knight Gancelot, so Royal Paladin support. Likely this will have rear support for Alfred, I'm hoping, and will also be its own Vanguard skill, kind of like the V Gancelot in a way. So I'm hoping there is some really good support in that sense for the deck, or maybe like a shuffle search blaster blade effect, kind of similar to like Vanguard 0 kind of. But anyways, either way, I think we'll have something that either has a good synergy with blaster blade, so it should do something for Alfred, or it'll either be like its own ride line on its own, or own grade 3. Usually they kind of just make you play like blaster blade ride line, kind of how we saw that for Alfred. The other big reveal that we got were new units from DZ-BT12, Grand Arms Silhouette, so a brand new form for Silhouette. This is the Youthquake protagonist ride line, and Blue Deathster Skysplitter Avantgarda Masque. So pretty great to see that they're still continuing the Masque trend. They didn't completely forget about it, especially since Gandiva Masque. It has been a few sets, but still great to see that they have not completely forgotten about Masque from existence, and hopefully not try deck sets once we get the more information on that, because we do know next week is going to be the Luard and Shiranui master deck sets, or not master deck sets, the Stride updates for those decks. So if you do want to see that information, do tune in. But anyways, we have Avantgarda Masque, and I think this is pretty great potential because they do have the set order that can pass power. So you can take going second and have that strategy set order set up, and essentially just pass power with Persona Ride, which is pretty big because you'll already be based power, with Persona Ride, and then it'll also pass your trigger effects as well, including crit, OT, whatever you flip, to the Richter that you do ride into afterwards. So yeah. Anyways, still pretty good for Avantgarda Masque regardless. And for Silhouette, I think it's just a good upgrade overall because the deck is quite outdated. So for this live stream, there's actually only 2 happy toys for Heartluru and then 1 card for Masques. So actually not too much to talk about. But first off, we have Fashion-Dull Ruby Rouge. This card has the auto when discarded from hand during your ride phase. You choose a grade 3 with Heartluru in its card name from your ride deck and you may reveal it. If either you revealed or you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Heartluru in its card name, you cost either counterblast 1 or energy blast 3 and draw 1 card. So built-in ride phase cycler for the deck, which is absolutely amazing. So your CB is a little bit tight, I'll be honest, especially against decks that, really do control your CB very, very well. But Energy Blast is super, super easy. Going first, you have that excess 3 energy. And, when you go second, you'll have basically 6 energy to work with because you're basically EBing 3 every turn for her Heartluru skill. But besides that, you don't really use any energy. So just an amazing card. Also, because it's Happy Toys, you can easily grab this turn 1 off playing the Toys Are for Children order, which is super, super easy. So really, really just amazing card all around. Easy red phase cycler, and you can grab it off your set order every turn, which is just absolutely amazing. So your hand will be super healthy on top of all your extra draw power and deck thinning. Then it has the second act on Rearguard Circle. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Heartluru in its card name, and you have not bound a card with the same name as this card this turn, you can also bind this unit, choose a Happy Toys from your drop, and call it to Rearguard Circle. So you can think of it as once per turn, like substituting itself for any other Happy Toys in your drop, which is really, really nice. It basically kind of lessens the conditions that you have to fulfill for your soul and for building a board. So if you are missing one of the Happy Toys, you can also call it out. Or if you basically had to somehow soul blast out your ride line, your soul was really weak, you could technically get back like Nutcracker or whatever and still be able to search out the order. It can really just also be another substitute for Bunny, so extra deck thinning. Can also substitute your Block Horse. Can substitute your, best beaters in the deck with her Blade Loss and Giant Fluff. So honestly, just an amazing card all around. And in the future, this will also just be able to call out any new Happy Toys from drop back out as well. So just honestly, a very simple and amazing triple rare for the deck. It just does a lot. It doesn't really increase the defense of the deck, which is kind of what I was hoping for, but you still have easy substitute this for Block Horse. You get even more early draw, which really does raise the defense of the deck a little bit earlier because you can guard easier. If you have more chances essentially to cycle through your deck and draw more non-zero shields and also get to your PGs, because if you have played this deck, there are sometimes games, even when you deck them a lot, where you just sometimes won't find a PG. So this does help. Really sucks that it doesn't work for discard during your outside of ride phase, because I feel like that would be too good synergy with Avarice Arrestor, and that's probably why they've worded it that way. So it only works when discarded during ride phase, but still nonetheless, it's an amazing card. And again, being able to find this early off your set order is amazing. So whenever you ride up, you just get that free draw for Counterblast or Energy Blast 3. At worst, you can always just, not CB for Blavey or other effects. Or if you really wanted to be greedy, you could throw in the Ace unit. But I think a lot of people have found that the Ace unit is kind of a little bit inconsistent Right now, I'm currently on just like basically a very simple build of like Cat and Philia and Avarice because I kind of like the mix of all of them. But most lists will usually vouch for like the max or 3 copies of Avarice Arrestor and then usually the one of Cat. So I think you still have to keep the Cat to CC because there's no other counter charge in this deck. Some people do like 2 Cat, which is what I really like, especially because you get the extra 20k shield in the deck. But personally, it's still just a good card all around, and I think you'll still probably want to keep at least one of the purple Cat just because you have no other CC in the deck anyways. But yeah, definitely 4 of this card. This card is just amazing for the deck. So I can't really say the same for the other happy toy. We have Recording OM Parrots. It's a grade 1. So it is another card you can rush with as well, and that is also really very true for the grade 1 Cycler as well. It has the auto when this card is put into soul by your card's ability. During your turn, you choose one of your grade 3 or greater Vanguards with Heartluru in its card name, and it gets +5 until end of turn. And of course, it is a happy toy. So kind of sucks that this doesn't give power to your Vanguard early, but maybe they just didn't intend it to be designed that way. But yeah, it doesn't really do anything. You could be playing this just for more named happy toys if you really wanted to. But like you have more than enough happy toys if you just play 4 of the new triple rare. So honestly, this card is kind of a throwaway. I think you could definitely still play a few copies of it if you wanted to just have more named, honestly. But I think when it comes down to it, you'd rather have that space for Avarice Arrestor or for, you know, Amethyst for that CC, because again, the deck has no CC at all. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, not much really else to say about Parrot. +5 does make a difference, but usually most of the time you are like either 23 or, you know, with a booster, you're like 31. So I guess this would make 36, which is a little bit of an annoying number because it makes it harder for your opponent to like basically 2 or 3 pass your Vanguard. But most of the time they are basically going to either guard sides and take Vanguard to basically guard the, you know, 2 crit or giant fluff on side, or end up just taking the giant fluff. Or, you know, they'll end up just PGing Vanguard anyways, so this +5k isn't really making that much of a difference. I thought maybe they give Heartluru guard restrict on Vanguard swing, but that would probably be too good because the deck has 3 drives. But anyways, still nonetheless, Heartluru is looking really good. I don't think the deck is looking as broken as like some people say. It's definitely still one of the best decks for sure, even going into DZ set 11, but it's nowhere near as oppressive as like some other decks during their time. So I think Heartluru is just in a really good position. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a fair deck, like it's definitely meta for sure. Very good at rushing, still a little bit weak on the defense, but still a very consistent deck all around nonetheless, and is still quite good at what it does, and these cards help that do that. Not so much the Parrot, but you know, the Parrot is just kind of like a flex option, I guess, if you want more happy toys. So the last card to talk about is Torque Dharm Dragon, and this is Messiah support. Now this card looks a little bit better than the Chronojet card, I'll say that, but really that's not saying much. Anyways, it has 2 skills. The first is the continuous in hand. When you would pay the cost per stride, this card may be discarded as a grade 3. So in emergency situations where you don't find a grade 3, it is stride fodder, but you don't get to draw. And again, it's not like the, you know, cards we have, the stride phase and grade 3 ride up phase cyclers, where which you digit for riding up to grade 3, or for stride you get to draw 1. So it's not really cycle, but it has the really good auto, which is when placed on Rearguard Circle, if you have an Alter Ego Messiah Crest, you get to cost counterblast 1, draw a card, and soul charge 1. So yes, this is 2 cards out of your deck. And this card is competing with arguably Veltrosa, because Veltrosa's CB1 to check top 5 calls something, or grab you Sanctitude with the second part of Veltrosa's skill. So I think you're kind of either taking one or the other, honestly. Thing is, Veltrosa's check top 5 makes it easier to find pieces, but this is a little bit earlier, like early game, that can't really whiff, arguably. And in emergencies, it is just stride fodder. But most of the time, you would rather ditch cards that are helping you cycle cards out of your deck, because you want to cycle as much as possible. But the extra soul is really nice. That's basically the trade-off you're getting over Veltrosa. Veltrosa is more selective deck thinning into getting pieces you need, and this is just kind of blind, draw 1, soul charge. But the soul charge isn't like optional, by the way. It's mandatory because of the and clause. So you're losing 2 cards out of your deck. But I mean, early game, that's not that bad because you do really need to stabilize. So I don't think it's bad to have more cards that do CB to do something early, or at least fill up your hand. And that Soul Charge one is really big because once you get to grade 4, you know, with Alter Ego's GB2, once you do unlock a bunch of stuff at end of turn, you do get to draw a bunch of cards. And that will include, you know, likely you lock 3 to 4, sometimes more, sometimes depending at end of turn if you have a lot of self-lock stuff, depending on your pieces. But yeah, honestly, not as bad of a card as I thought when first reading it, compared at least to the Chronojet card. The Chronojet card really didn't do much besides add countercharge for the deck, but the deck really didn't need, because I think you have Primordial and really good other stuff. But yeah, anyways, this just seems at least a little bit better. Kind of weird that they didn't give the cycle cost, but I guess if they did give the cycle cost for the ditch stride, it would be just better than like the other stride fodders you're already playing. But yeah, I mean, you could, ditch this, use the Festival Cyclers and E3 remove to add it back to hand, and then use the on place. That's a really cool thing, I guess you could do with this. But, if you are ditching this for Stride, you don't get that extra draw one, which kind of hurts. And then, the on place is pretty straightforward. Like, you're basically just adding more early game cards, which is nice because you do want to not explode as a Stride deck set, especially when you're forced to go first. So this helps a lot with that. It's just more cards to burn CB and kind of stabilize and build a board on top of Veltrosa, which is nice. So kind of an okay card. I would rate it this is definitely not what Messiah needed, but like it's something they'll take at least. And it is just a double rare. So but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, do like and subscribe, the usual stuff. Slowly approaching 1K subscribers, and thank you guys for the support on the videos recently. Working on a few more projects that are hopefully more like scripted or long form and informative. So hopefully those videos will be out soon. If not, they'll be out next week. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.